Welcome back to Cooper Lyden is Alone, the only podcast hosted solely by Cooper Lyden. Yep, you can go to any other podcast on any other streaming service anywhere in the world. You will not find a podcast that is hosted by me alone specifically. That's the truth, folks. That's the fact. And if you don't want it, then get in the back, okay? Because this is Cooper Lyden is Alone, an hour of Cooper Lyden talking to himself. What a pleasure to be back again. And we got a new addition to the show. It is the Electro Voice RE20, a standard of broadcasting, an industry standard, used by the likes of Howard Stern, Tom Segura, Joe Budden, Marjorie Taylor Greene. For some reason, a few other specifically conservative podcasters are a fan of this mic. For some reason, they don't go with the Shure SM7B. I don't know why, but apparently if, the conservatives, they tend to like this mic a little more, which, it's got a high-pass filter in it. You don't need phantom power. It's humbucking coil. It's Electro Voice. It's a famous company. It's really something to be a part of. Maybe I need a shock mount. You see that shake? Did you hear it? Let me know if you did. Holy fuck. Okay. But, yeah, we're glad to be back. Glad to have the mic. I've been so excited to do the podcast just to talk into this mic. Let me know if it probably still sounds like shit, because the thing is, I get this nice mic, which should be better than the last one, but really I'm doing it in my room full of a bunch of hard surfaces, and I got a window made of plexiglass and tape because I put in an AC, so there's a lot of noise from the outside, so you might be listening to this or watching it thinking, wow, he spent $500 on a mic, and it definitely doesn't sound better. But nonetheless, it's a good look, okay? People will respond better to the podcast now that I have a podcast mic. Before, when I was doing the handheld, people look at that podcast and they go, this guy isn't serious, okay? I need a broadcasting mic to know that he's broadcasting, which I understand, that is the role that I'll fill. I will do my best. I am not going to be a conservative. It is not my political stance. I will be a liberal with the RE20. The only things I will speak into this microphone is truth to power, okay? Is resistance, okay? That's what this podcast brings you. This is the Resistance Podcast. I mentioned on an episode a few weeks ago that maybe we'd be starting a revolution. That's still in the works. Rome was not built in a day, and I'm pretty sure, there are some revolutions involved in that. So just give it some time. We're still working out what our political stance is. I'm a pretty not political person, so being the head of this movement is definitely a newer thing for me. But I think all of the members of the movement should call themselves Lydens. That's my last name, plural, Lydens. If you are a current member of the movement and you have an issue with that, leave a comment below. Let me know. Or if you want to let me know anything in the comments, the podcast is not successful at all. I see all the comments. If you want to let me know literally anything, let me know. And who's to say it wouldn't be discussed on the podcast, because it's going to get read. But anyway, it's just good to be back. It's good to be here. Good to be having a good time with all of you guys. I took my dad out to lunch today for his birthday, and he liked it. He likes Thai food, and I live in Hollywood, pretty close to Thai Town. So I said, well, why don't you come out to Thai Town? You live in the Valley, which, if you don't know, is about 30 minutes away. You got to go over the hill, suburban part of LA into the city. I was like, why don't you come over? We'll go to Jitlada. It's the one of the premier Thai restaurants in LA. People say it's the best. Why don't you come out and we'll get you some real Thai food, because he lives in the Valley, and the thing about the Valley is it is close to LA. It's a major city, so you do get a lot of good food in the Valley. That's a misconception that you don't. But I was like, come out to the big leagues, you know what I mean? Come out, get some spicy Southern Thai, And at the end of the meal, he was like, this was great. I'm really glad we came here. And I was so glad to hear that, because there was a part of it when we started looking at the menu, which is quite extensive, and includes things like, pig ears and frog legs and shit like that. And it's not the only thing you can get. You can get a fucking boring ass chicken if you want. You can get a yellow curry, which of course we did. 3 white guys. You kidding me? Father, 2 sons. Yeah, we're white. We're getting the yellow curry. But I started to get worried because I was like, maybe my dad doesn't like Thai food as much as he and I think he does. You know what I mean? I was like, because it's his birthday, so you want to take him to a fun place, but you're also like, oh, I don't want to put you in a position where you're at a restaurant where you don't want any of the stuff that the restaurant's selling. For a little bit, I was like, oh no, did we go too Thai for Dad? Is this too Thai right now? Should we have lowered the Thai? But he was good, and he loved it, and it was good to be out. It was good to see the pops. Bought him a couple of cigars. That was good. Not much else to say about the old dad's birthday. What else do you say? It was a good time. You know what I mean? We had a good time. It was a good time. On my way home, I drove past a cafe near my house, and a guy that I know through comedy works at that cafe. And I've seen him walking around before. And we're comedy friends. It's similar, kind of like a work friend thing. I don't have the guy's number, but if we see each other, we're going to say hi. That's the extent of the relationship. And I passed that place, and he was outside working. And I was about to go like, hi, like yell his name at him. And then I thought about how he would feel, and he would hear that, and then he'd hear that name, probably not recognize my voice immediately, and then maybe be able to see me in my car on the street. And then even if he did, he'd just be like, what? Oh, hey. And it's a good feeling. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but if you see somebody in public that you know, and you go, oh, should I say hi to him? And then you just go, no, I'm not going to say hi to that guy. I just won't say hi to that guy. And you feel like you made an executive decision for both of you to have a more chill, easy day than you would have. You know what I mean? It's like, do we need to do this? Or can I almost, in my eyes, gift him us not doing this? You know what I mean? It feels like a thing when like a sniper is like about to take a shot, and then he just like thinks about it, and then he just goes like, and he puts the gun down. You know what I mean? I was like, I could have. You were right there. You were out in the open. You were so ready. You had no idea that this was happening. Now you know. But I saved him, and he didn't have to deal with that. More people should do that. You know what I mean? And I got a friend at work. He's a good guy, Luke Schwartz, very funny comedian. He even has a joke about this, but he loves when he sees people that he knows in the car on the street. It's exciting for him, which I get. I like that too, by surprise, when you're like, oh, shit, and you're window to window, and you're like, good to see you, you know what I mean? But then even in his joke, he talks about how, then you drive, and then it's like, what do you say, hi twice, and then one of you has to get into a different lane. And one of you, eventually, if you see somebody you know in their car while driving, and you say hi, within 2 stops at a red light, one of you has to go fast and furious and pull a crazy fucking move that the other person will see and recognize as they're getting out of this. Because we said hi fucking 10 lights away from where we're going. If we stay where we are, every single light we stop at, it's like, and he's fucking over there. What do you even say by the 3rd time, let alone the 10th? So you got to zoom around. But it's funny because sometimes me and Luke get off work at the same time, and we take a similar route to get home. So there are several times, it's not a coincidence. It's not fun anymore. There are just several times where I see his car and I'm like, oh, he's up there. And I specifically avoid it. And it's not a personal thing, but I just go, we could do the thing. But also, you don't want to do the thing of like, hey, you're there in your car when you just came from the same place. Because it's like, of course you're there in your car. We both got in our car after work and are driving home. It's like, and we see each other's cars immediately. I take a quick turn off. I'm like, how? Like, what am I gonna wave at you and say hello, even though we both kind of knew this was coming? You know what I mean? We haven't mentioned it in person, but I'm like, he knows that I go that direction. If he's going that direction at the same time that I get off work, we're gonna bump into each other on the road. And that's after work. After work, I am not ready to chat, mingle, anything. I'm done. I'm done. So I got to go home, and I avoid cars. And I do that often. I think, you know, it's funny because when you see somebody you know in public, you think like, oh, well, this is an opportunity to be more social and to go and say hi to them and see what's up. But you know what it also is? It's an opportunity to feel like you're John Wick. You know, it's an opportunity to like be at the Grove and see somebody from 5 feet away and whisper to your friend and be like, I know him. He works with me at the cafe. I know him well. And then your friend's like, you gonna go say hi to him? And you just go, no. They go, really? He's right over there. And you go, I know. Isn't that a little tension added to our conversation now? You know what I mean? Now we're not just out for lunch. Now we're spies. You can spy. Because think about it. If you see somebody, especially somebody you're not that close with, that's the best. But you know them, and it would be appropriate to say hi to them. If you see them in public, just don't. You see somebody you know from work in public, just don't say hi to them. And if you happen to be around them, you just pretend that you're a spy and you're like, oh, going into the Gap, are we? You know what I mean? And then it's fun. Way more fun than, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm buying clothes. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's so exciting to be mischievous, you know? And it requires you to do nothing. And really, all of this is just me being antisocial and trying to make a game of it, you know? The whole game, the whole spy thing is just some big excuse to not be that personable, you know? I don't know. I gotta be more nice. I also fucking, this isn't talked about, and I'm not saying this should be talked about. I'm not saying it's an issue in any way, but not, like, having bad eyes can really make you kind of rude if you don't have your glasses on. Because I'm nearsighted, but I really only wear glasses when I drive because everything else in my life I can do without glasses. And sometimes it hurts to have the glasses on if I'm fucking reading a thing right in my face. I don't need it. It hurts, so I don't wear the glasses a lot. But sometimes at the Comedy Store, I'm parking cars, so I'll put the glasses on to park the car, and then I get out of the cars and I take them off, and now I'm standing in the lot. But sometimes I'm standing in the Comedy Store lot, and there's a person at the back patio that's like 30 feet away, and they walk up, and they see me, and I look over to them, and I can't make out their face perfectly, so then I'll just be like, huh? And I'll just squint like angry Clint Eastwood at somebody, just like, huh? And then just still not recognize them and just walk away. So there's just tons of people out there that are like, I don't know what Cooper's deal is. I hadn't seen him in a little while. I went to the Comedy Store, saw him in the lot. He stared at me like we were old enemies, and then just kind of walked the other way into the kitchen, you know? I have that problem a lot. I don't know. I'm really jealous of people who are just so good at being social and nice, and I don't know. There's no grace with me. You know, it's weird because I can talk to somebody, and maybe this is bragging, but I can talk to them and I can feel like I get what they want from the conversation. And I think that's really easy with some comedians because they're insane maniacs who lie to themselves. So sometimes what they want from the conversation is like, I just want to brag to this guy and act like my life is fucking great. And that's easy for me. Because if that's what they want from the conversation, then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just listen to whatever bullshit lies you're going to tell me about how great your life is going and go, cool, man. And then you get to leave this conversation feeling pretty happy, you know what I mean? And feeling like you had a pretty good time in that conversation. You're like, man, Cooper's a great guy, you know? Which is why I think a lot of really shitty people like me. because their intentions are on their sleeve. So I can just give that to them because it's like, whatever, you want to talk about your shit. I don't like talking to you. It's easier if you do most of the talking. So just go. And those people like me a lot. They're like, Cooper's a nice guy. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't like that guy at all. I just know that when he talks to me, it's going to be this one track on repeat. So I'll just listen up and just kind of buckle in, I can do that. But then when it comes to I think then when it comes to people who are very good socially, then I'm not in the driver's seat, then I feel like I'm the one whose intentions are being dissected, But I don't know. It's so good to just know everybody's name. It's not even in like a network sense. It's just like you're such a better person if you know the names of everybody who knows you. And some people are great at it. Like they meet a guy once and they can see him again in 2 months and they'll be like, "Ryan, good to see you. How is the business that you run that I'm aware of been?" Dude, I know guys that I've known for so long that I just go, "What's up, man?" And that's it. I don't know shit about them. I don't know their first, middle, or last name. I don't know where they're from. I don't know what the fuck they do besides that they like stand up. And it's bad. Because then I'm a dick to those people. You know what I mean? Then I'm like an asshole. Then I'm known as a standoffish guy. Because it's important to remember that I think most of your actions out in the world, whether you're socially anxious and you're an introvert and you don't talk to a lot of people, or if you got anger issues and sometimes you're just not good at talking to people and you're pissed, or whatever, most people are going to assume that you are doing what you want to do. And by that, I mean, if I know a guy for 5 fucking months and I never learn his name and I'm very brief with him, they're just going to assume, well, Cooper doesn't like me. Or Cooper doesn't want to hang out with new people. Or he doesn't want, when really it's like, no, I'm so bad at remembering names and I don't ask people's names when I forget them enough. And I just sort of live in a world of purgatory with people's identities. And then it results in me being rude. And I think that is the way most people, I think people my age are rude. Where in the old days, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I feel like in another time when manners were more respected, people knew how to talk because there was a thing of like, well, I can't talk to this guy if I don't know his name. That's rude of me. I must learn his name. And now I'm just like, I don't fucking know that guy's name. I don't know if I'm ever going to learn it. And then you're a dickhead, you know what I mean? And that's why I respect people who really hold on to like a way of acting more than other people, because nobody knows how to act now, myself included. And once you meet somebody who does, you realize how much of a fucking cunt you are in your normal life. Like when you meet a guy that is doing better than you in your thing, comedy, obviously. When you meet a guy who's doing so much better, you realize, and he's nice, you realize how much of a fucking dick you are. Because I'm like, I'm a fucking door guy at this club. Like, I park cars. I'm a nobody. Like, fuck me. I could die. It doesn't matter. This guy has got shit going on, and he's still giving me the time of day and remembering my name and the shit that I'm into. And then you go, oh, well, maybe that's why he's in a different place, because he's actually nice to people and people like talking to him and being around him, But who has time for that? Not me. I gotta be angry in the parking lot. I don't know. I still do that. That's so childish. It's like when I feel some way, I feel the need for other people to know it, And there's a healthy way of doing that. You know what I mean? Like if you're not in the mood to talk, you could even directly let somebody know that. Or if they ask you how you're doing, you could just politely be like, I'm pissed off. I haven't had a great day, But like the other day I showed up to work to park cars in the parking lot and the lot was already full, which is usually not the case. But obviously you can do the math. If you're a parking lot guy and the lot's already full, your job's already fucked from the moment you walk in. So I was a little pissed, came in, saw that the lot was full, saw that a lot of my friends at the Comedy Store were hanging out in the parking lot. I walked up, got out of my car with an angry face. Some people said hi to me. I don't even know if I said hi back. I think I heard some guy go like, "Oh, he's having a bad day." And it's so funny because it's like, if I act that way, the rest of the world will just kind of slightly accommodate me. You know, like they're not going to be mad at me. They'll just be like, "Oh, that's Cooper's thing. He's fucking mad." And that's how you become the person you are, is by people's accommodations and adaptations to the way that you act. That is your identity. Your identity, in a lot of ways, is the way people react to you. That's who you are. Like, maybe you don't see yourself as a mad guy, but if I'm walking around every day fucking mad and wanting people to know it, then people are gonna be like, he's an angry guy. When really in my head, I'm like, no, I just had a fucking bad day. And it's like, I don't know. You kind of do this every fucking week. It's kind of your fucking thing. How many bad days can you have as a 23-year-old with absolutely no responsibilities to anybody? The answer is little to none. But, nonetheless, I wear my heart on my sleeve. But that's important to remember. That's important to remember, because you don't want to be a fucking dickhead. But I don't know. I'm a dickhead too much of the time, and I could be a lot nicer. And I don't think I'm mean, but I know that I am a guy that several people have always said, when I first met you, I thought you didn't like me. Which, if you're hearing that, means you're not a good guy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still learning how to act, And I think that's a thing that just comes, and you just pick up tools. I think the problem is, I am a guy like this, but I know I am, so I try and not be. But there are guys like this, guys like me, that they see people who are really good at socializing, like really nice, fun people, and they kind of get mad at them. They're like, oh, like they're just, oh, what? They're just nice all the time, and everybody just fucking loves them. Oh, wouldn't that be nice if everybody just fucking loved me? And I bet if you ask those people who get hated on by haters why they find success in relationships and why people seem to like them, first off, they'd say, oh, well, I don't know. They'd be a little cocky to answer. First off, they'd be humble. But second off, they'd be like, well, I really try and prioritize learning people's names, knowing things about their life, bringing those things up again. It's very rudimentary stuff, I mean, humans are easily pleased, Like, I will hate a guy in comedy for years, but if I do a set and he comes up to me and he's like, hey, man, that was funny, I will immediately be like, he's a good guy, okay? Whatever anybody's saying about that guy cannot be true, because he complimented my set, okay? He's a fucking amazing guy. I don't know. You got to be nice, Attitude matters. It's like that one fucking guy on the Grizzlies, who they just lost, the basketball team. They lost to the Lakers, pretty sure. I don't watch basketball, but I'm on Twitter, so I watch basketball. I'm aware of basketball. This dude on the Grizzlies, he kept talking shit to LeBron. He's like, I don't respect a guy unless he gives me 40 points. Unless a guy can score 40 points on me. Which I think, like, the game that he guarded LeBron scored like 28, and then the game after he said that thing about 40, his whole team lost by 40 points. Like, it was fucked. And, that's not really a be nice to make friends situation, but it's like, he talked so much shit to arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, and then was reminded of why he's the greatest basketball player of all time. And it's a similar thing in life in a different sense, but where it's like, if I'm a fucking, standoffish dick to everybody at the Comedy Store, then I go on stage and I bomb. It's like, well, where's all this attitude coming from? You know what I mean? Attitude is justified, Like, a lot of the coolest stories about Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant involve them being sociopathic maniacs. But they back it up with some of the greatest basketball ever played. So then it's twisted into this, like, kind of virtue, or maybe they're right because look at the results. But if you're a guy with no good stats on you, then you can't talk yet, And you shouldn't do well just so you can talk, I mean, you talk a little, but if you're doing it just to be petty, you're probably never going to be that great. I kind of like LeBron because the times that I see him shit talk, he's always doing it in like a really not raw way at all. You know what I mean? It's never like off the cuff kind of raw. Like the way LeBron talks shit is like he had a good one where he was responding to this dude on the Grizzlies that was talking shit to him. He posted a picture, I think, after he won the game, and in the caption he said, "If you see me in the forest fighting a grizzly bear, help the bear." And that caption is from a freestyle rap that was on Sway in the Morning years ago. And he just cherry picked that. And that's like the way a lot of truly great guys talk shit. Is like there's so much planning in that. There's so much thinking. There's so much time. It's such an afterthought. It's such a separate activity. Like when he's on the court, he's winning. As far as I know, he doesn't really talk a lot of crazy shit on the court. You know, I think he's got some stare downs and shit, but for the most part, he's just being the best basketball player we got right now. Then after he wins the game, he goes home and he's in bed with his wife and he's like, boop, 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 boop. And that's a new activity. That's separate from the game. Boop, 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 boop. Talk shit, make a 20-year-old cry, you know? And that's good because it's different than like the motherfuckers that are still on the court being like, you're a fucking bitch. And then they get scored on like 27 points. And it's like, you should have kept quiet. You should have waited. You know what I mean? And my problem is, as I understand it, is if I was in the NBA, I would be the guy on the Grizzlies that talked all that shit and then got scored on. Because there is a weird thing with that mentality of being like, I'm the only one just saying what I think. I'm the only one being honest. And the funny thing is, it's like guys like LeBron hear that and they're like, yeah, you shouldn't. Like, you're a professional basketball player. Everybody listens to the things that you say. You should think about them, you know? And his whole thing, I'm sure, is like, well, I'm in the fucking NBA and I'm saying whatever I want. How cool is that? And LeBron is like, well, I just beat you and made you look like an idiot now. So you should have waited, you dingus, you know? Because now you look like a dumbass. I don't know. I'm just glad that nobody can beat me in comedy. There are tons of people who will have better careers than I can ever imagine for myself. But that's them. They don't get that from beating me, at least, you know? Because if I was a fucking basketball player, I would be getting embarrassed all the time. First off, because I'm 5'9", 140. I honestly don't think I would do that well in the NBA, if I'm being completely honest. But even if I was an NBA player kind of athlete, I would still get embarrassed all the time because I would just talk way too much shit that I could never back up. I do that in comedy. I mean, I told a story here about I talked shit to a guy because he fucking hated me. I made fun of his dead mom or some shit, and then I had to sprint back to my car so he didn't kill me. If I was in the NBA, every single night I would be crying in the locker room. I'd be like, why was I so mean to LeBron James? And then he was so mean to me. And then all the other players on the team are like, why does he cry all the time? I'm like, because I'm sad and I suck at basketball, you know? I don't know. It's got to be tough to be an athlete because, you know, I've been in like a downturn. I haven't been feeling good at all. But at least in art, it's like it's kind of permitted. You might have some downturns. In fact, maybe you should really examine those down feelings, go into that, you know, find depth in your own suffering and bring it into your art and life. You know, there's room for feeling and maybe even being a piece of shit for a little bit while your head is not working great. But if you're an NBA player, there's no space for that, you know? And I'm sure all those guys have tons of private conversations about keeping good mental health in terms of the game, but like you can't be the brooding point guard. That's not a position. If you're an athlete, you got to just think about winning. That seems exhausting. I think that's why I was never great at, sports because of the most obvious reasons in the world, but also the mentality was not there. I didn't want to win enough. I only wanted to win when it became very apparent that I was going to lose in an embarrassing way. Like, I ran cross country and I was never good. Even at my peak, I was middle of the field. I could maybe run 3 miles in 19 minutes. Maybe keep kind of a 7-minute mile, which for cross country is not good. And I would never, it's a whole course. When you run cross country, they take you to a dirt course, and we'd run on the same course every week. But, it's a long time. You're out there for like 20 minutes of just heaving. And so a lot of times, like the first corner, the first lap of whatever I'm doing, I'm not racing anybody. Like, if people are passing me, I'm not even thinking about losing a place in the race. But at the end of the race, at the end of the course, the way you ended was you would come down a hill, and then you would run up a steep hill, and then you would run down the other side of that steep hill around a curve into a straightaway where you would sprint to the finish. And it was very common that gaps would be closed on that hill, which means you're a guy like me, you're running, you're not that great. Bop, 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 bop. All of a sudden, you hear footsteps, and you're like, there's a guy behind me. Whatever. I'll let him pass. But then you realize, fuck. When I went around onto this hill, onto this hill that's about to go down around the corner to finish, when I went up here, I was in front of him. Everybody saw me. Now we're around the corner. Nobody can see us. If he comes out first, everybody knows he beat me. They'll see it that way. So now something clicks in my head where I start gunning, and what's interesting is once you get in that competitive mode, the guy behind you sees that, and you think, well, if he's behind me and I just start trying more, then I will win because I'm trying more. But the crazy part about sports is you go, okay, I'm going to try more and I'm going to win. And then you hear his footsteps get faster and you go, well, fuck, he's trying more, so now we're at the same place we were, so I gotta try more, and then he matches you, then matches you, then matches you, then matches you, then maybe passes you. And I remember, like, I did not care about competition. I cared about losing. So it's like, I would be fine with whatever fucking place I had. But if I was coming around that straightaway, and there was a guy right next to me, I was sprinting like I was sprinting with a knife to go kill Hitler at the end of World War II. Like, I had such a mission. It was the only thing. I don't know if I've ever cared about anything more than I cared about winning a cross-country race in, like, the last 100 meters of it, which is not the way that you are supposed to race. But that's how I did. And it's like, it's almost like the race didn't begin until the very last corner. Like, if you were alone, you're like, thank God I don't have to fucking compete for shit today. But, like, once there was some guy right next to you, you were like, well, this is it. This is the race. If I lose to this guy, you got to deal with that. But that's, and those are some of the reasons I could never be an athlete. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch this and you're thinking, like, why is he doing a podcast? He's obviously so athletic. Why is he, he should totally be on the Raptors, But I don't know. I've called a lot of NBA teams, and they're not very interested in what I have to contribute to the team, which I understand, because I don't play basketball. But nonetheless, I don't know. Should have gotten into fucking Formula 1 driving when I still had the chance. I really wish I tried. I do. I don't even know if I'd like it. I just know that is one sport that my body type is totally ready for. 5'9", 140. It's a sport that is purely twinks. It is purely twinks. And then there are, like, aging twinks, which are just twinks with a bit of a gut and some hair. Like, that's it. But what they want is small boys. And it's, it's like, it's racing. So it's like essentially anybody can do it, but also essentially not many people can because it's a very tight space. You can't make the cars bigger. You can't be a big guy and race, And it's also, it gets so hot in there, and there's a lot. So you need little guys with quick reflexes, and look at that. Come on, you can be, Put me in the race. I could be racing for Scuderia Ferrari. And instead, I'm doing a podcast that nobody listens to, sinking money into it. Jeez Louise, I could be in Monaco, you know? But I don't know. But also, once again, I don't have a competitive spirit. Those guys are interesting, too, because, like, in football, there is a risk of death, sure. I think in any sport, technically, if you clash bodies together, we're much more fragile than we realize. But in Formula One, there's a real threat of death because the mistakes are car crashes. You know what I mean? It's funny to imagine. It's like in football, if you make a mistake, you don't catch a ball, or you allow an interception, or you allow this, or you allow something else to happen, or you fuck up. And usually what it means is points against you or no points for you. That's what it ends up with. But in Formula One, when it comes to accidents, all that means is car crash or engine failure turning into a burning car. It's like all your little mistakes are then a car crash. Like imagine if your job, every time you made a mistake, you got into a car crash in front of millions of people and people who paid for the car that you don't own, you know? So it's like their instinct of competitiveness is even scarier to me because like if a football player wants to win a game, he's like, fuck it, let's go all out. He's not really thinking he might die. When it comes to Formula One drivers, when they're like, let's go all out, what they're saying is, I'm kind of fine if I die today. Like, I'm not fully okay with it. I don't want to, but I'm not going to be that mad if I perish in a fiery blaze. And you gotta respect them for that, you know? You gotta give it up. I don't know. So I always put respect on Formula One drivers. You know, they are the podcasters of sports, and you got to love them. You got to put respect on them. So I always put respect on Formula One drivers. Yeah. I don't know. I envy those guys with a goal, you know. I think just especially this week, I mentioned it on the last podcast, but I saw the band Fish 3 days in a row. I did Molly 3 days in a row. And now I've wanted to fucking kill myself for 14 days in a row. Which is what happens after you take Molly. It's something where you fuck up your brain chemistry. So you go up, but then you go down. But it's weird because it doesn't feel like down. It doesn't feel like vaguely I don't feel good. It feels very specifically like I don't believe in myself or anything I'm doing, or maybe even the world, and I don't want to be here. Which is not a good outlook to have for stand-up, you know. I mean, I went to a mic yesterday and I just fucking talked about killing myself and how much I hate my jokes after doing a joke that did fine, you know. I don't know. It's tough to walk around and just be like, I should just fucking kill myself. But it's funny because I have a lot of things in my life that dissuade a lot of the stereotypical depression thoughts. You know, first off, of like nobody cares about me. I can't say that's true because I usually try and sleep until 10 and I never get to because I get a phone call from somebody before 10. It's either from my girlfriend or my friend Dan. Those who I get calls from almost daily, saying hi, spending their time with me over the phone. So it's like, it's tough, and the depression still battles through and gets a place in my heart, don't worry. But it is funny to be like, damn, I could kill myself and nobody would ever give a fuck. And then at 9:30 a.m., your friend's like, hey, I'm calling just to check in and see how you're doing. And then you're like, all right. One person would give a fuck. And then 30 minutes later, your girlfriend's like, hey, how are you? You awake yet? How you doing? And then you're like, okay, 2 people would. And then your mom's like, hey, honey, I'm in Boston right now. Are you doing good over there? You need any money? And you're like, okay, 3 people would care. We can definitely include my dad. He didn't call, but yeah, I see him every week. Yeah, he cares. And yeah, and my brother. Fuck, you know. I don't know. It's so funny because I have such a good life. And it's, as boring and useless as I am, I should be studied as a testament to mental illness, you know. You should trot me out in front of a class and be like, so this guy is born in Southern California into a middle-class family. He started stand-up comedy. He spends most of his time pursuing stand-up comedy. He works at the Comedy Store. He's only 23. He has parents that help his financial life a little more while still letting him be independent. And, he's really got no real responsibilities besides just trying to be the best he can for himself. And then have the class be like, oh, well, how do you feel about yourself? And I'll be like, oh, I hate myself. I think I should kill myself. I want to die every single day. I don't like my life. And I don't even think I'm allowed to say that I'm grateful for anything I have in my life based on the way I act. And they'd be like, where's that coming from? And it's like, fucking here, baby. You know what I mean? Do the math. Study it, okay? Look it up. I don't know. There is something that I would call a virtue of privilege that if you are raised comfortable enough, and I'm not like upper crazy wealthy, but to 99% of the world, yes, I am. But I'm not like, hey dad, I need a car and then it happens, To me that's wealth, but that's a whole different thing. Real wealth is like what I have, where if I'm a little low on money, I can text my dad and he'll help me out, Not like $1,000 easy, but like, some change, some considerable change, and I can tell you from that privilege that it will not make you actually happy. All it does is give you all the tools to be happy, and you have to use them. And what's funny is if you don't use them, you feel like even bigger of a piece of shit. Because if I was just poor and had no fucking help, it would be theoretically, ideologically easier to sit in my bed and be like, I'm a fucking piece of shit. There's no worth in this life. But, functionally it wouldn't be easier because at the end of the day, I'd be like, well, I still have to fucking go get up and work. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't really, but the point is I can tell you from a guy having an easy life is unfortunately, money does not make you happy, but it can buy you tools to make you happy, like a blender. It can do that. But it is, I don't know, it's funny, it's like you talk to some people in comedy and they're like, yeah, man, it's like, if I could just, make a bunch of fucking money, then I'll be good. And I just want to tell them, like, you might kill yourself if you make a bunch of money. Just so you, like, that's totally a thing that could happen, That's why I'm afraid of any kind of massive success, which is hilarious to be afraid of something that will never happen. But nonetheless, if I became successful now, I would die. And I'm aware of that. I'm very aware of that because I've had an easy enough life. And I go, I know what I'm gonna fucking buy if I got money, okay? And some of that stuff is stuff that will kill me, and will at least make me feel like I should kill myself, and I'll kill you know what I mean? It's like, if I'm given any amount of power and money right now, I will use it to buy clothes, and kill myself, essentially, is what's gonna happen. So if you're listening to this right now and you're like, hey, I hope he finds some success, I think you should be grateful of these episodes now, because any success that comes will kill me, and if not, just turn me into an even worse, less interesting person. So really right now, this is probably the golden era of the podcast, because if anybody paid me to do this, I would, I don't know, probably try and start a second X Games where all the people are on cocaine. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're headed, with any amount of success. But boy, would that be good. I don't know. Just trying to get through it, but it's going okay. But cigarettes suck now. I don't know. I was doing Zyn for a little while. I'm going to go back, but I was smoking cigarettes recently. Don't do shit. I smoked a cigarette before the podcast and was like, okay, I'm going to smoke this. Then I'm going to go inside. I'm going to do the podcast. I smoked the cigarette. I walked inside. I got 2 feet, and I go, I still want to smoke. I feel like I didn't even smoke. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is not relaxing at all, which is terrible, you know what I mean? Because cigarettes are just tools for me to be a little less of a dick, And when they're not working, fuck, all the wheels fall off, you know what I mean? It's like we lost the mechanic to the starship, We're going to call it. Do I need a shock mount? I don't know. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I love you so much.